out there one September night, 1784. Two men serving their country, murdered in plain sight of multiple witnesses. The assailants captured that very same night. But what happened in the months that followed, you will not believe. Hottest day of the year so far, so I'm wearing a hat. Old cottages like that would have had cellars. Built early 18th century, it would have played a part in the local smuggling trade, and the smugglers would have paid them to use the cellar space as storage for the contraband. Old Hunstanton is recorded in the Domesday Book, but it is recorded as Hunstanton. New Hunstanton hadn't been founded. The name Hunstanton is an Anglo-Saxon name. A tun is an Old English word for like a farmstead. Hunston would have been the name of the Anglo-Saxon man that set up a farm here, which is kind of ironic because Old Hunstanton prospered and it grew and it expanded under the ownership and management of a family tied to the Normans, the Lestrange family. To this day, the Lestrange family still own lots of land in the Hunstanton area, and they reside in Hunstanton Hall, which is a walled and moated private residence. Why here? The gaps going through the sand dunes and off up into the village. Why a small place like Old Hunstanton? It is tiny. Why would the smugglers bother? For a smuggling operation to be a success, you needed 3 key ingredients. Number 1, you needed an isolated beach that you could land a boat on. The main customs and excise offices were located in King's Lynn and Wells next to sea. Old Hunstanton and Thornham, well, both of those were over 10 miles away. The automobile hadn't been invented yet, nor had the railway. Saw the officials coming from a distance and you're in a boat, you can just sail away, no problem. Number 2, you needed a location that was easy to find. These cliffs are unique in Britain. The Carstone red chalk and white chalk, the 3 layers of millions of years, as well as looking really, really nice and pretty, they form the most recognisable stretch of coastline for miles around. The height of the cliffs offered a vantage point for a lookout to be placed upon. The smugglers would sit offshore in pitch black darkness, and on top of the cliff they'd have their lookout, who would have a lantern, flash that lantern once for the all clear, flash it twice to mean that the revenue men are about. So now you've got an isolated beach that you can land on easily, a recognisable strip of coastline that has the added advantage of a lookout, and the third ingredient, the getaway. Over there in the distance are lots of sand dunes, and in between those sand dunes are gaps. The gaps going through the sand dunes and off up into the village. Old Hunstanton lifeboat station is positioned in one of those gaps. Now think of it the other way, the boat coming in. The boats would come in, the cargo hits the beach. Within less than a minute, you would have a gang of men run down to the boat, lift up the cargo. They then get put in the back of a horse and cart. Off goes the horse, either into a local inn to store the goods in the cellar, or a local cottage that's allowed their cellar to store the goods. Near here, you've got Pedder's Way, which was one of the main trails off to inland Norfolk. So here, you've got it isolated. You've got an identifiable strip of coastline with a lookout, and you've got gaps in the sand dunes that allow for a quick getaway. It's ideal, except for when it went wrong, like it did on that night in September of 1784. So a smuggler lugger, captained by Thomas Kemball, sailed all the way up from Dunkirk in France, loaded with contraband, and they had planned on a night landing on Old Hunstanton Beach. But unbeknown to them, customs officers had been tipped off, and that night, this little headland was being patrolled. They landed the boat, they offloaded the goods, and as they were doing so, a customs officer came and stopped them and seized the goods. They didn't seize all of the goods, they only got the end of it. But the goods that they did seize, they then placed into storage in the barns of the nearby Clare's farmhouse, which is now Cayley Hall Hotel. But the customs officers knew that that wasn't going to be the end of it. Thomas Kemball, the leader of the smuggler gang, was captaining that vessel, and he wasn't going to just let that go. And the smugglers did come back, and they came back with a small army of between 20 and 50 men, some of which had guns. But the customs officers had anticipated any such retaliation, and they had already put in a request for support from troopers of the 15th Light Dragoons, which they got. So when Thomas Kemball and his gang of smugglers came back, there was an armed defence waiting for them. So the boats landed and the men came ashore and they charged inland over there, and things got out of hand quickly, very, very quickly. And in the chaos of confrontation, gunfire, multiple shots, one customs officer, bang, shot. One soldier from the 15th Light Dragoons shot 4 times. 4 times. Both men lost their life. The remaining smugglers then all scarper. However, Thomas Kemball and his right-hand man captured by the authorities that same night, detained. And a third, a seaman, a foot soldier of the sea, if you like, for them, Mr. Thomas Williams. All 3 men thrown into the county jail, Norwich Castle, where they await trial for 6 months. 6 months go by. It gets even more bizarre because Thomas Williams turns king's evidence, and in exchange he doesn't face prosecution. So away go the jury. They acquit them. So the prosecution force a retrial. Away go the jury. Not guilty again. Why? There's eyewitnesses. Even one of the accomplices has turned against them. Why? And it's very simple. They were smugglers. See, in the 18th century, smuggling was absolutely vital to communities around the whole of the UK coast, and Norfolk was no different to that. You have to understand the economic situation. In the 1700s, the country was involved in multiple wars, and war, it costs money. Income tax hadn't been invented yet. It didn't appear till 1799. So how did they raise the money? Well, one thing they did was raise tariffs on imported goods, in some cases as much as 100%. The end result of which is that everyday items, tea or brandy or tobacco, which were everyday items of that era, they ended up costing about 3 times as much more to the consumer. Small communities, particularly on the coast, they relied on local supply of goods. They didn't have the money to travel miles and miles to find cheaper alternatives for the same goods. And if that local merchant or local trader is being taxed to living death, then no one can afford anything. They needed those supplies to survive, for the communities to thrive and the local economy to be a success. Hence, the middleman. Why not bypass the trade tariff by paying somebody to bring those goods into the country without the customs and excise officers ever even knowing that they were brought into the country? Trade tariff is avoided, consumer still gets the same goods for a cheaper price, the merchant still makes a healthy profit, and the authorities are none the wiser. Everyone's a winner. And those middlemen that you're paying to do this are called smugglers. In North and West Norfolk, there was one notorious smuggler gang called the Kemballs. Thomas Kemball was based out of Thornham. Everyone was in on it. Farmers would lend their horses and their carts to carry the goods. The local residents who had cellars would offer up those cellars to store the contraband, and innkeepers would provide accommodation for the late night beach landings. People hated paying tax, having to fund all the wars. Half of the community, they depended on smugglers to thrive, and the other half, they were so aware that that was necessary that they turned a blind eye to it. Customs and duties excise officers, they were seen as damaging the local economy and preventing people from earning their income. That's how intertwined with the community smuggling was. As well as that, Thomas Kemball, ironically, amassed such a fortune and wealth from smuggling that he can afford the best legal representation for him and his right-hand man. They can afford to bribe people. They can buy false alibis. If that jury had come back with guilty verdicts, think what would happen to their families. Think what would happen to them. Not guilty. And so the two men, Thomas Kemball and Andrew Gunton, they walk free. But the two victims, they're still in Old Hunstanton. They're buried in the local churchyard. So let's go find them. Let's have a look. William Green, customs officer, killed by smugglers, 1784. Found the second grave. Private William Webb, 15th Light Dragoons, killed by smugglers, 1784. That's when it hits home. You see their actual graves. They lost their life trying to do their job, and people didn't do the right thing in the jury because they were terrified. That's the real tragedy. Smuggling continued into the 19th century, but eventually did phase out.